All right, now that we've looked at singular.php, let's turn our attention to single.php. Now, single.php is going to control how a single blog post looks. And as we saw before, if it is not available, it will fall back to singular and then eventually to index.php. However, single.php is a really good template to have, whereas singular might be repetitive and index you probably don't want falling back to every time. Single.php, to determine how a single blog post is displayed, is super important. So let's take a look now at how we would go about building this out and what implications it will give us for creating more modular code. So the first thing we could do is come to our singular.php and simply save this as single.php. Okay, so what's changed? We'll change this to single.php. And if we come back to our site, and I'm looking at a post now, so go ahead and open up one of your posts. Sometimes the easiest way to do that before we have, actually, you could probably just create a little widget for that, huh? Let's see. Widgets, recent posts. Great. So now we could quickly alternate between a page here and a post here. Okay, so I'm clicking on Hello PHP. It's a post, and notice that single.php is loading. And if I were to click on a page, notice that singular.php is loading. So I've distinguished the two files. I know that this one is only going to load for my single posts. However, other than that, nothing's really changing. I don't see anything else different going on here. And that's kind of a problem because now we have a bunch of files that are exactly the same and nothing is changing between them. So what we're going to do now is think about what can we do differently in a post that would be different than a page or something else. And where that's probably going to change is within this area here. So our main wrapper is probably not going to change, but we could do things to a post like display some author information, the date information, something like that that would be a little bit different and set us apart from a normal content page. So what we're going to do is we're going to create content like this. It's just the H1, and we're going to save this as content-page. Okay. And inside of our singular.php, instead of loading just regular content, we're going to say load content page. And now we could have the regular content, and I'm doing this for a reason, the naming convention, which will become more clear later why I'm using content as the fallback for a post. But let's just go with this for now. And now inside of our content, so content is now only going to be loaded for a blog post, right? Because on our singular, which will work for pages and attachments, it's loading the content-page, which is right here. And for the single.php, so just for blog posts, that's only going to load the content. So that's how we know that this is only going to be loaded at this point for our posts. So let's just add in a little something extra here just to set it apart. Inside my header here, I'm going to add a new div with a class of byline, and this is going to have some information. Now, we're not going to go into all the different template tags because we'll come back to those later. So let's just put author, and you know what, you may want to translate that. So let's do escape HTMLE, and we will say author, or we'll do it that way, and we'll put the space here, and then we could do PHP the author. Now, here's an interesting thing. We've got one PHP block, which is just like this, and then we've got another one right after it. So technically we could move these two and just do that. But what you miss out on is then you don't have the space anymore. And sometimes I find it's easier to leave things in their own PHP block. Even though it's a bit more PHP, it helps set things apart. So if I was just browsing this right now, skimming through, I might miss that this is two different things going on. I mean, you may not, but you could take whichever approach you like. You might like it cleaner with more PHP, or you might like those blocks in there. Anyways, we've got that going on. So let's just leave it at that. We'll have an author for a post and not for a page. So let's come back over to our site now. And now notice, hello world, author is Zach. Great. And I've got my single.php. If I come into a page, notice that that is no longer or that is not there, and it's displaying from the singular. So that's a big difference. We could add in a lot more things here, and we will as we come back to different template files and tags that we could use. However, this is enough just to distinguish why we might justify having these different files. So pretty helpful here. And actually in the next lesson, we're going to talk about something else that we could do, which is pulling in different templates depending on the post format of the content. So let's take a look at that in the next lesson. Before we get there though, catch up here, create a single.php, change how you're loading things. So inside your singular, just pull in the content-page, and then inside of your single, you could load the main content. And inside of that content, we're customizing it a little bit by adding in a byline, some author. You could try to figure out what other information you want to do, play around. But we'll come back and beef all of this up later. We just want to get the basic framework and all of the templates in here and working.